here, and I am here today with another fat loss phase update for you on my personal weight loss journey. We are in the middle of week 9. I cannot even believe that I'm saying that. We're already 8 weeks plus into this thing, and I'm having some mixed feelings about it, and here's why. Inches are down, yes. I'm feeling a little bit better about life in general, yes. But the weight on the scale is still just teetering at like that 2.5, 3.5 pounds down thing depending on the day. And actually, for this particular check-in, I'm checking in at probably actually like closer to 1.5 pounds down because of all of the circumstances of last week, which I will get into in just a minute. But all in all, 9 weeks down, things are becoming very routine feeling. It feels very normal to get up on Monday mornings and take my pictures and take my measurements, getting the daily weigh-in thing, communicating with my coach, filling in my tracker, and even tracking on a day-to-day basis. It just feels very routine. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't feel overly dramatic. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I am going through this crazy weight loss journey. It just is what it is. And you know what? That's completely okay. The last time I talked to you, I mentioned that I had just had my calories docked and I was going to wait until today to give you the update on how that's going. So my current calories as they stand on a day-to-day basis, a daily average, is 1798, so 1800 calories, and previously I was at 1850 when we started the cut. So a daily average, my coach docked me an extra 50 calories a day. And then of course she took my new macros and redistributed them to once again have 5 low carb days and 2 high carb days that I'm supposed to do back to back. The 5-2 carb cycle thing has been wonderful. I really am enjoying it. And in reality, it doesn't actually feel like the current extra restriction on my calories really impacted me all that much. She did take away a couple grams of fat, which I'm not gonna lie, hurt my heart a little bit. While I love carbs as much as the next person, fat is where my happiness lies. I love my avocado. I love olive oil. I love cheese, full fat cheese. So docking me 5 grams of fat was actually, while it seems so small, it's such an adjustment. It was such an adjustment, but that's not the reason that my weight loss kind of stalled out a little bit, even though my calories got restricted. And I will tell you exactly what happened. If you'll recall, what happened 2 weekends ago, or what, I don't know what day you're actually seeing this, but 2 weekends ago was daylight savings time, and we sprung ahead and got the extra hour of daylight. And while that is wonderful, I prefer spring ahead. I love when the sun sets later. The sunlight is my fuel. It keeps me going. So the longer it is up in the sky, the more productive I am, generally speaking. This year though, I have no idea what the actual reason was, but this year, daylight savings time kicked me in the booty. And it was, whoa, I was so tired. Not just for like Sunday and Monday, literally all week long. I woke up every morning after getting 8+ hours of sleep, still feeling like I could sleep for another 3 or 4 hours. Everything was drained. I was moving through molasses. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal, and I had no way to fix it. I just had to push through and power through and see what the heck happened. So that really messed up my week last week. And it took until literally Saturday for me to feel like a normal human being again, almost 7 full days. But we are in the middle of the week since the week of daylight savings, and I'm feeling much better. But that is something that really put a wrench in a lot of things for a couple of reasons. One, I was also PMSing, sorry boys, and because of that, I have that added, you know, inflammation and weight gain that's going to happen, or lack of weight loss that's going to happen due to hormonal fluctuations. On top of that, I was always tired. Always tired. And when you're tired, what do? Well, what do? I turn to food for more energy, specifically carbohydrates. So all week, I was slightly under on my protein goal and slightly over on my carbohydrate goal, and things just kind of felt a little out of whack, a little bit less balanced than they have been in weeks previously in this cut. So everything was just kind of off. And then the other thing that happened that really kind of triggered the weight gain that has not come back down yet is the weekend of daylight savings, I was actually out of town. It was my first trip, and we went back to Illinois just for a couple of days, just for the weekend. Illinois is where I'm from, by the way. It's my hometown, my home state. And we went home for my grandfather's birthday party. We got in Thursday night. We were there Friday, Saturday, and we left Sunday, the day of daylight savings time. On Friday, we went to my parents' house, and we did what we always do. We ordered Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza. Chicago deep dish is one of the reasons you live in the Chicagoland area. Am I right? So good. Tracked it, absolutely, but it was a lot of food. It was heavy. It was unconventional to what I normally eat, and that's okay. And then the next day, I had whatever my grandfather provided at his birthday party, which was roasted chicken, macaroni and cheese, and birthday cake. Yes, there was some fruit salad and regular lettuce salad involved in there as well, but let's be honest, the stars of the show was the chicken and the macaroni and cheese, both of which I partook in and enjoyed every single bite. I strategically planned my 2 high-carb days for those days, the days of Lou Malnati's pizza and the days of my grandfather's party. But Thursday and Sunday, we had road trip food. We stopped at Arby's both ways. I did track all of the things, but everything was a little bit less than perfect that weekend I was gone. I also was unable to weigh in, so I didn't have any daily weighing, and the result was when I weighed in on Monday, I was up 1.6 pounds from my weigh-in on Thursday before we left. Not surprising, not at all surprising, right? No big deal, you know why it happened, track it, move on, right? Then the week that was the major struggle bus happened, and so a whole week passed of me being less than perfect. I probably would give myself about a 6.5 out of 10 on the plan adherence scale, and that might be being too harsh. I'm maybe closer to a 7.5. I fell in my calorie ranges, but my macros were just off. Everything was just off. And I felt off, and so that was fine. All of that to say, by this past Monday, I had maintained. That entire week, I weighed the same on this past Monday as I did the Monday after my trip, which is basically the whole time that I'm trying to recap here. So I maintained. It is what it is, even with the restricted calories, the heavier restriction on my calories. But again, pairing the eating from the trip, the extreme energy drain, the PMS, and there's one factor I forgot to mention. I added an iodine supplement to my nutritional supplementation. I am not a doctor. I am no medical professional. Please do not do this without doing your own research and consulting with a physician. But I started taking iodine this past Tuesday. I've been on iodine for 1 week now. With iodine, in order to take it properly, you take a couple of other supplementations, and this includes extra sodium. So I have been taking, for about 6 days, I took 800 milligrams extra sodium, 840 to be specific, in the form of an electrolyte beverage that I put my iodine into, in addition to the normal sodium I usually consume throughout the day. An extra 840 milligrams of sodium, or milligrams of sodium, is a lot of sodium. What happens when you have more sodium in your system? Water retention. So I literally had all the factors working against me on the scale. It's fine. I ended up taking measurements on Monday, and it turns out that my measurements went down ever so slightly, which is awesome. I think I'm down like 0.75 inches total from the last time I took measurements. So not a lot, but still, this indicates fat loss. Even though the scale went up and the scale has been maintaining that higher weight, this indicates that fat loss is still happening, which means the calorie deficit is not all for naught. Just because the scale is not showing weight loss doesn't mean that fat loss is not happening. This is something I have to remind myself of time and time and time again. Hooray, fat loss is still happening. I can continue to move forward and trust the process. That's what this whole thing is, right? I'm 9 weeks in. I have to learn to trust this process, which is a long process, but it is a process that needs to be trusted. Something interesting, something worth noting, as of the filming of this video, it is a Wednesday. Aunt Flo has not made her appearance yet. PMS has been taking a really extended visit with me this month, which is, you know, a joy as always. But I'm not telling you that to be like, oh, poor Brianna. No, the interesting thing is, after maintaining that weight gain for an entire week, from yesterday to today, I am down 0.6 pounds from yesterday. And Aunt Flo hasn't even come yet. So like, I'm in the height of where the weight gain should be, and lo and behold, the weight's actually coming off before my period even shows up, which is weird, but a very, very welcome change. And I just thought that was something interesting and worth sharing with you. Like, the scale can do wonky things and you don't even know why. Is this because I actually should, in theory, weigh less than what I actually do, but because of PMS, it's still spiked, so really the drop is lower? I don't know. I have no idea. But what I know is this: things are happening, regardless of hormones, regardless of energy. Things are happening, and that is a very, very exciting thing. So what changes have been made to my plan this week? In terms of calories and macros, nothing has changed. My coach is letting me just sit pretty, and kind of now that the week from Struggle Busville has passed, she's like, let's do at least another week and just see what the scale does with these new numbers now that you don't have all of these other factors at play. Worth noting, like I said, in theory, Flow is going to show up any minute, and so by next week, that's going to be done and over with. I reduced the amount of sodium that I've been taking in, and I'm only taking half of a dose of the electrolytes with my iodine now, because the sodium is actually meant to help with bromine detox symptoms, and that's a whole thing for a whole different video. If you want more information on the iodine, head on over to my channel. But I haven't been experiencing any of those symptoms, which means I'm like, let me try reducing the dosage of the sodium because I'm not experiencing any symptoms, and I'm still not experiencing any symptoms, which is a wonderful thing. But the fact that I halved the amount of extra sodium that I've been taking in the last 2 days could also have played a role in the random weight loss that was unexpected, right? And my energy has returned, which is amazing. So all of these elements that were working against me and the scale last week are working with me this week. So that could be the simple reason as to why the scale went down randomly. I honestly could not tell you. But we are leaving everything the same just to let these elements that are now working in my favor instead of against me play out and see what kind of weight loss happens over the next week or two before we make any other changes. One change that we did make is we are actually getting a little bit more meticulous about my tracking. My coach was talking about how, especially in fat loss, it's important to be a little bit more meticulous, especially when the scale is not moving the way you want it to be moving over a period of weeks. The scale, remember, is not the end all be all, but I would really like to see some more movement. And so she reminded me to do things like even prepackaged products. If I have this ability, and because I'm paying a coach, like, I'm in this to win this, right? It's not just a casual dieting thing I'm doing. I'm on a timeline, like a whole thing. More meticulous tracking is not a bad thing. So things like some of my prepackaged foods, she wants me to weigh on the scale. And for an example, Healthy Eating on the Go bars are my favorite protein bar of all time. I love them. They're natural, they're clean, they're delicious. A serving of these bars is 70 grams on the label. So what have I been doing? I've been tracking all of the bars as what the label says, right? She eats one of these bars every day as well. So she goes, weigh your Healthy Eating bars because they're probably not 70 grams. Lo and behold, all of the bars that I have consumed this week have been 78 grams, not 70, which is 10% larger than the actual serving size, which means my 200 calorie bar is actually 220 calories. It's little meticulous details like that if it's like one thing, it's not necessarily a big deal, but if you're seeing a stall out on the scale, it might be worth looking into. I've started weighing my wraps that are inconsistent in weight. Those are tending to be about 5 grams larger than what the serving size says. So all of those little things can really start to add up. And when you are already trying to eat as many calories as you can and still lose weight, those little things of 20, 30, 40 calories every single day can add up to pushing you back into maintenance instead of being in a deficit and hinder your weight loss. So my one instruction for my coach this week is more meticulous tracking. Also, and this is advice that I give all of you as well, I weigh everything I can rather than measure. Instead of using tablespoons, instead of using cups, I use my food scale. Conveniently, the Healthy store has its own little food scale that you can purchase now, but any opportunity, even my liquids, I weigh them instead of measure them. And this makes sure that my tracking is as accurate as possible. So that's all I've got for you this week. It's kind of been hanging out in maintenance since my last update, but I am optimistic about the next couple of weeks ahead as I'm feeling like myself again. Things are going to be playing out in my favor. My tracking is a little bit more restricted, and so in theory, I will have some pretty awesome results to share with you in my next update. Keep in mind, awesome results does not have to be, oh my gosh, I lost 3 pounds in 2 weeks. Nothing like that, but stay tuned and hit subscribe because you never know what you're gonna find out at my next update. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch. Take care, and I will see you really soon. Bye.